Today, we're looking at a brown ink by Atramentis Black Brown. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. There's timestamps down below where you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Now, you can follow me on Instagram as an ink guy, and if you like fountain pen ink reviews, don't forget to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Kaweco brass sport with a broad nib. I used it to take the notes for this video and wrote with it for a day. For the first writing sample, I used Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. There are additional writing samples later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to make sure I keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine has no feather spread. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub. It has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading throughout, like quick starts dark, goes medium, goes dark again. Brown starts dark and goes to a medium tone. Fox starts as a medium and gets very dark. 11 seconds to dry. Now, medium is the same tone as the 1.1, maybe one tone lighter. It's definitely darker than the extra fine. If it's lighter than it is lighter than the stub. Just barely lighter, but it is lighter. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both aren't showing us a lot of color variation, although we do get it in the extra fine. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. The medium is darker than the extra fine, just a little lighter than the stub, no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 24 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and plenty of nice shade spots. Quick starts dark, goes to medium, goes very dark again. Brown starts very dark, moves down to a medium tone. We get a lot of this. Over starts much lighter, gets much darker. 12 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not quite as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 18 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both of them here, looking far left to far right, do show some color variation, but it doesn't come through in a medium, it does come through in the extra fine. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this gray push its way straight up. We get a dark magenta and hints of a bright red. Yep, that's a magenta, not a brown. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. Now that gray line across the bottom, very dark, very there, really not budging. I think we're going to have some permanence with that. You see where it's really pushing even to separate with water. There's some white showing through here from the gray, so not a lot of the gray is moving. That magenta tone moves way up, and you see a little bit more of that bright red. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself perfectly. What a gentleman. It's not blown out, it's not any kind of a problem. A good ink to use as a note taker if you like to go back and highlight. Now, water is the beginning of seeing some of the trouble spots. What we're left with is a very dark gray, but not a lot moving away. But that chromatography did show us that there are some permanent elements to what's going on. The pen flush leaves a light gray but a fairly uniform light gray the whole way through, meaning that gray is going to be a little bit of an issue. Now the 1/3 bleach solution, which I did have to use to get this out of my pen, did completely remove it from the paper. It slightly stained the paper yellow some, but it didn't do that to my pen. I just immediately washed my pen out with water so that I know I don't rust any of the metal parts. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Now I'm going to link the video that shows how I do my testing and calculations. The Atramentis Black Brown has a viscosity of 2.5, making it not just normal, but average. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those, and what I found is the average dry time is 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. The Atramentis Black Brown has an average dry time of 16 seconds, making it normal. Instead of finding an ink that looks like the Atramentis Black Brown, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now with the Atramentis Black Brown being a brown that definitely leans magenta, I wanted to go with a nice purple. A standout purple like Diamine's amazing Amethyst. The second writing sample is done on yellow Rhodia, life paper, and Viscosity notebooks. Here we're looking at it on the yellow Rhodia to see what kind of tone difference happens for having the yellow paper underneath. And because it's a brown that leans so magenta, I was really curious on that. And the thing is, I'm not really seeing any kind of real tone difference between them for having that yellow paper. This means it's really a very opaque ink. Life paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub. Here we're looking at the yellow Rhodia paper. This is to see what kind of tone change we might see in the ink for using it on a yellow paper. Now, they're very much the same, but the yellow, especially here in the medium, is bringing out that kind of magenta tone that we saw back from the chromatography. Little bit in the extra fine, not so much in the stub. So it does make a slight tone change. Life paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, but it does offer shading. Quick starts dark, gets lighter, gets very dark. Brown starts very dark and works its way lighter. 9 seconds to dry. Medium, much darker than the extra fine, slightly lighter than the stub. No feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine, far left to far right, you can see some color variation. You see it also with the medium, but it doesn't come through in the medium. It does come through in the extra fine. And Apica notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine, quite a bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and yes, we still get the shading again. Brown starts nice and dark, works its way lighter. The is a very dark word, especially compared to quick. Over starts light and gets dark. Fox is dark to light to dark. Very nice stuff. 6 seconds to dry. Medium is a darker tone than the extra fine. Very close to the 1.1. Maybe just a shade lighter. The medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium aren't showing any color variation, but the extra fine in the writing sample does. And that is all that I have for the writing samples. So what do I think of the Atramentis Black Brown? There's a slight magenta lean in this brown, which in itself isn't bad. And like many brown inks, this does offer some decent shading throughout the writing. It's an interesting brown because you don't often see a magenta lean in them. So what nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? Just avoid your super wet pens. The tone that goes down is too monotone and too dark, and it becomes uninteresting then. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.